Yo, and just like that, it looks like we are live, which means possibly that hopefully somebody out there is like, "Hey, dude, your volume's coming through and it's great." And I'll be like, "Thank you very much." Today, as you'll notice, there is no intro, there's no song, there's no Air Canada. No, not Air Canada. Why do I always call it? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Got some feedback here. Hey. Just a moment here. I was looking at myself. Never look at yourself when you're on when you're on some sort of live stream. Don't do that. Guys, thank you very much for coming. Today we're going to be doing a transformative commentary on a video that I've yet to see. It is Tony and Chelsea Northrup's review of the Fujifilm XT4. Why is it that I think that this video is going to be good? Or why is it one that I think is worth watching? There are so many reasons. For one, in my last, I think as you can probably categorize it, rather listless or a meandering video that was supposed to be a live stream, I ended up talking quite a bit about their review, or not their review, their speculation about the Canon R5 and, of course, the launch event surrounding it. I think overall their video is pretty good and was worth watching. And they brought up some good points. However, as you remember, there's a lot of things that they were just sort of speculating on, and I think they were a little bit too harsh on Canon, as well as the fact that they didn't take into account that basically no independent, unbiased reviewer ended up in any way at all, basically getting a Canon EOS R5 for review. There are people, I guess, that were able to borrow it quickly from a shop or something like that, as well as Gordon Lang, who maybe went, I don't know how he got it. You know what? Who knows what's going on? But I hear a lot of conflicting reports. Anyway, they made some assumptions that were probably wrong about the Canon EOS R. And they were pretty harsh on things. They're never going to get one straight from Canon. But one of the things I like about what they do, it's not always this way, is that at least right now for the XT4, they have either purchased, now I haven't seen the video yet, they have either purchased or rented it, and it's now months after the release. What does this mean? It means that if everything is going according to plan, and as they say it is, what that means is that they have the camera in their hand and possibly for a long time. So they're not going to be basically doing the review based on just first reactions of the camera, the first time they pet it, the first time this new gear comes across their desk and they're basically in love with it. No, not at all. Instead, I assume that it's going to be a review that's a long time in the making. And I think that's kind of the best way, and it always should be like that. So I suppose without further ado, here's a transformative commentary on their review. Chelsea and Tony, take it away, man. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to move this, see if I can do it. How do I do that? Take it out. Take it out. All right. Move it this way. I know what I'm doing, guys. Move their their window. Actually, you know what? I want to make sure that I've got this right. I'm going to share the screen. You know what? Already got a mistake here. Already got a mistake. I just, you know what? I'll tell you what's incredible about my position here. I use the trackpad with my left hand. I am not left-handed. I'm not terribly adroit with my right hand, but close the window for Tony Northrup. Wait, here we are. Tony Northrup YouTube. I'm just going to go over here quickly. Tony and Chelsea Northrup YouTube. We're going to go to their latest video, and we're going to. Whoa. All right. That is loud. We're going to turn on the volume quite a bit. I don't know actually how loud. You guys are going to have to tell me in the stream how loud things are, because otherwise, don't have a way. With OBS, I had this set up. It was a little bit easier, at least for the audio stuff. But we're going to share the screen now, and Chrome tab, Fujifilm 4 overheats, and fun but flawed. All right, ladies and gents, without further ado, or I think that's the word. Let's see here. Boom. Play. Oh, wait. Shoot. I didn't put on the audio. Hey. Don't. Don't you guys judge me. Don't judge me. All right, stay here. Come on. Don't judge me. Don't do it. Streamyards, share screen, Chrome tab, share audio. All right, we got this. Okay, we got this, man. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. And I want to see some feedback from you guys. You're like, dude, it's are you streaming using a Mac? I am streaming using a Mac. Namvu, a pleasure to see you here. I am streaming using a Mac right now. I don't know what that means. All right, but I'm ready, dude. Here we are.
A day in the life and see how it does under different circumstances.
All right, I think we got it.
So right now we're headed to shoot food. I've always really loved the
How's the volume
of the Fuji cameras. The butt.
Volume, guys? Any volumes? Oh, by the way, it looks like they're doing a little bit of live commentary themselves. They're like, hey, check it out, buttons. All right, Chelsea, take it away, man. Or, not man. Volume is good. All right, cool. Am I loud enough in this as well versus their video? Here, I'll just hit play just a second.
Ins and everything. The
hello.
Good. It's a fun camera to shoot.
Hello.
But
all right, Nambu, I'm waiting, man. You're the man of the hour at the moment here. I had 3 people before I screwed up. Before I did the usual thing, and yeah, I'm louder. Okay, sweet, man. All right, here we go. By the way, we've just hit our first butt, so I'm just gonna turn off their ad. Boom.
What will the photos look like? What issues will we uncover?
How much you want to bet that she's streaming right now with the XT4? That's what I want to know. I really want to know this. I'll tell you why. Because she's off to the left on the camera screen here, which is a little bit harder for the Fujifilm or any camera really to track. They're much better in the center, but of course, it's, all right, fine. It's full screen live view. However, I got an XT3, and I got to say that when it comes to face tracking, it's a little bit more temperamental, certainly, than a Canon or something like that. But I'm really interested in seeing what she's using. Okay, come on, man. Quit taking up the time. Let's go.
How will Tony enrage the Fuji folks next? It remains to be seen.
This review is brought to you by...
Do you think they stopped for that stop sign? I don't know. That's what I'm a little bit worried about now. But that's all right. Here we go. We got the advertising spot. Looks like they're going to K now instead of last time it was Squarespace. All right.
By KEH.
We're just going to fast forward just a bit.
XT4 to launch because it's 60s film SLR, which is...
Wait a second. Go back.
Because it doesn't look like a big dorky 80s SLR. It looks like a 60s film SLR, which is cooler. It's also a little lighter. The sensor stabilization gave me about 3.5 stops extra hand holding with my unstabilized lenses. Perfect for shooting indoors.
This is
Kerry Rice for the win, man. Kerry Rice for the bloody win.
David, and he makes my favorite Puerto Rican food.
I was wrong about that. Sorry, guys. I'm not an ethnic guy.
We're here all the time, right? We're like family now.
You just made Nana Lucy so mad.
My wife, Zarina.
Hi, how are you?
Just took my sandwich. That's okay.
I took a spontaneous portrait.
I didn't know these guys were such foodies, but looks like we're going to be on the foodie thing for just a little while. Obviously, they're like live logging this or whatever, or vlogging, whatever you call this thing, which it is maybe not what we were expecting. Certainly at the moment at this day out in the town eating some food, but it looks like they're enjoying it. And oh, Tony's got a mask. Nice. Chelsea's doing the brave thing. All right, come on.
Of the owner and his mom in front of their restaurant. The XT4 handled it perfectly. Now it's time for street photography.
Can you imagine that a camera like an XT4 handled taking a photograph of a person standing in front of a restaurant perfectly? It's amazing. Good camera. Good sign going forward. All right.
All right, I'm in my favorite little city, New London, Connecticut, and I'm going to just get some around town shots. Probably nothing portfolio worthy, but I'll get to see what the image quality is like and what it's like to shoot with it too. So let's go.
One question I got is the XT4 as reliable as that BMW? That's what I want to know. Yeah, look at that. Hey, exactly, man. That car is all right. I got a Suzuki Every downstairs. If you guys ever want to see me do a live login with my Suzuki Every, 3-cylinder, 660 square or cubic centimeter engine, 5-speed. Gets about 20 liters per 100. Wait, what? 5 liters per 100. Forget it. Whatever. Look at my car. Yeah, it's a nice car though. Come on, they deserve it. All right, let's go.
The viewfinder is bright, responsive, and crisp, perhaps even better than an optical viewfinder.
I'm going to take pictures of the whale tail fountain, but I want some separation from the buildings behind it. So I'm going to use the articulating flippy screen to get down low. It's not just for looking at yourself, it's for getting lower angles.
See that, guys? All you guys are like, it's all you vlogging people. You're all just like egomaniacs and all that. No, it's for going down, putting your camera almost on the ground and getting separation from fountains and buildings. Looks like she's using. Hey, by the way, I brought a prop today. All right, so you guys can't say that I ain't a Fuji user. None of you ever say that anyway. But my tennis elbow has a little hard time bringing this bad boy up. But she looks like she's using the same lens, 18 to 50, 16 to 55, 2.8. 2.8 will give you a bit of separation there, and it looks like she's shooting, if I can tell from the aperture ring. Nice that you can do that with Fuji. From I can tell, looks like she's at 2.8. So we're gonna get some separation there. Way to go, Chelsea. Bring it home.
Before you ask, the case is made by Kazakh.
That's what I wanted to know for sure. All right, got a Kazakh case there, everyone. Take your notes. Take your notes.
Screen works okay. It's better than Sony, but it's not as good as Canon. It's fine.
Did you hear that? It's like shots fired across Sony, man. Shots fired. It's better than Sony, but ain't as good as Canon. Now I don't know. After the last video, when they were kind of like taking down Canon there, now they're kind of firing both at Sony as well as Fujifilm. So got to be careful here.
One of the things Fuji users really like are their picture profiles, which are basically just filters that you see on your photos while you're shooting.
It's not a picture profile. Come on. It is called a film simulation. JPEGs. And you can tweak it so that it works in Capture One and Lightroom and some other things too. It's called a film simulation. Okay, we have basically proved that perhaps Chelsea and Tony, at least Chelsea, is not a Fujifilm user writ large. All right? I don't know. Shot fired there, I guess. Or it's a misfire. There we are.
And I like that because sometimes the filter helps you see things differently.
Simulation.
So I'm going to put on the black and white filter and take some architecture pictures around the city.
How's the rear screen in the sun?
It's good, actually. You can see pretty well.
One reason I really love the electric viewfinder is that it lets me see black and white, helping me know exactly what results I'll get. By shooting RAW plus JPEG, I gave myself the option of converting the pictures back to color in Lightroom or Capture.
Okay, so everything she's saying is right. Of course, that applies to basically every single mirrorless camera as far as I'm concerned. And perhaps even some DSLRs if you use like the back screen. But still, it's cool. At the moment, I don't think we're given any new or important information regards Fujifilm cameras, or this camera in particular. But all right, that's all right. It's all right. Like I said, I still think it's nice that they're waiting. They're not jumping the gun, you know. All right, let's go.
Capture One.
That's black and white. Because head was like pretty low there. Maybe something she wanted. Ooh, I like the lines. Good lines. A little bit angled, but
one nice thing I like about all the dials being right under your hands is that you can adjust all of your settings without ever looking at the screen. And that's
all right. Fujifilm user here. You know what I'm gonna say? You guys know it's wrong. What you can change is certain things that you can see. Like I'm gonna bring it out. I'm gonna whip out the tennis elbow. I'm gonna whip out the XT3. Sorry. I got this bad boy here. I'm gonna set it to 1/2000. Wait, can you see that? 1/2000 shutter speed. And then I'm just gonna massage the what's this called? What is this thing called? The command dial. Just to the right. So there it is. 1/2000. Right? You see all your settings. You're like, yeah, that's why we get the Fujifilm. It's perfect. Turn it off. you're like, and there's one of the things Fujifilm users, we're all like, you can see the settings even when your camera's off. It's freaking amazing. It's so much different than DSLR. It's just blah, blah, blah. Now I turn it back on, and it should be in 1/2000. But if I look at the screen, it's 1/3200. Ladies and gents, we have a hit and a fail. Not her fault. Every single Fujifilm user who's still been using these cameras for years is like, you can see your settings. It's so amazing. It's just incredible. A DSLR certainly can't do that. It's impossible, And I've been saying since 2013. Oh, she said it to f4 actually, not f2.8. Sorry about that. I've been saying it's wrong. It's wrong because you got the command dials. The camera's basically a DSLR with not a DSLR. It's a mirrorless, a regular mirrorless, command dial mirrorless PASM with a different fascia. So you're wrong, but it's not your fault. Every single Fujifilm person says that, okay? Again, you may not be a Fujifilm person, and I think because you called it filters, that sounds like a Canon thing. It's all right. Canon are awesome. I'm thinking of switching sides here, so it's all right. No problem. Let's go.
That's pretty nice. So this is ISO, shutter speed, exposure compensation, and your aperture is on a ring on your lens. The only problem is I sometimes forget my aperture is on my lens and I end up changing it. So I was just shooting at f22 and didn't realize it for a few shots.
Confirmed, not a Fujifilm user. If you don't remember that your camera aperture lens is on your your aperture ring is on your lens. If you don't remember that, you're not a Fujifilm user. However, as we know, and there's another problem. This lens, as you see, tennis elbow, should not be lifting this thing with my right hand. As we know, this has a labeled aperture lens. Not all Fujifilm cameras have labeled aperture lenses. Some of them, like even their f4, steady f4 lenses, some of them have unlabeled, endlessly rotating aperture rings that you can turn back and forth. Then there's a 27mm lens, which lacks, even though it's a prime, lacks an aperture ring. Then some of their zooms also lack aperture rings. So it's not across the board a Fujifilm thing. This is one of my long-held criticisms of Fujifilm, necessarily because they advertise themselves as one way, and the fans of Fujifilm treat Fujifilm as the camera that you can see all the settings. They got the aperture on the rings, and it's just, it's so level, you can see everything. It's not true. It's not necessarily true. All right? But anyway, that is, okay, if you're not a real Fujifilm user, it's kind of a rookie mistake, but it's also a professional mistake. Even the pros who've been using them forever still say that thing. I've spent too much time on this. Let's go on.
Something I really didn't like about the XT3 was the weak battery, which never lasted through a full day of shooting. I can't.
Totally right. Man, that thing, okay. I used my, okay, so here's how you drop the stream. I've used a GFX and even an Hasselblad, like the backs, for magazine shooting since 2017, something like that. Recently I've started using the XT3 just because it's the GFX 50S, great output. If you got it on a camera stand and you got all your lights out and you want, but if you got to change an angle, sure, use a camera stand like this, you just pop it up on the wheels, you just move it over. However, the GFX focusing on, I've got it on rails, takes a long time to focus. So I've started using, and I previously used a Canon 80D for it, and it seemed to have, with a little bit of noise reduction, no problem. Before that, I used a Leica SL for that, and that was just beautiful for that. Super fast focusing. There was, in a dark studio, when you have to turn off the lights to get an LCD. By the way, I shoot audio stuff and jewelry and some other stuff, but you're doing audio, sometimes you want to see the display. In order to get the display to work, what you got to do is there's two ways I take it. Either I take one exposure with a flash and then another exposure without a flash, and then I'll just not dodge and burn, but I'll mask out the LCD so it'll come into the first image. Or from the very beginning, I use a flash and then set the thing on a 3-second exposure, same aperture, and then slightly change the color in post, and then that's it. But with the Fujifilm X-T3, it does a very good job in the magazine. Noise is lower than the ADD, which is nice. However, what's not nice, And the ADD, even in live view mode, which I often use when I was doing macro, because it was really hard to focus through the optical viewfinder, the tiny little thing, and it's just not as accurate. I would have to go live view, but with the XT3 battery, the worst I got, and it's not good for battery anyway, but the worst I got was 40 images. 40 images on a single full charge. The best I got was around 120. So 40 to 120 in a magazine setting. What is a magazine setting? You put it on a camera stand like that, you trigger your lights, you definitely check your images. Why do you check your images, man? Because it's on the, you got the EVF, you should be able to see it. No. You got to magnify and pan it and make sure it's all there, because the LCD may, and it's like focus peaking, it may tell you things are in focus, but it's not accurate. It always check when you're getting money for it. Anyway, battery life, I assume, is going to be way better on the XT4. It has to be. Fujifilm have been behind the battery life forever. I've been talking too much. Take it away, Chelsea.
Can't deal with that. The XT4 has a huge battery that lasted all day, even when shooting video.
By the way, I just got to say this. Imagine using a camera. That's a nice image, by the way. I like that. It's a good one for black and white. Got the stripes here and there, and that's got the dark bricks. That's nice. I like that. Very good done. Very good job. But imagine this. Imagine using a camera on the same battery all day, a digital camera. We're not talking about film, not talking about like changing your film stock or anything like that. Imagine a digital camera that you can use all day long. This was one of the biggest downgrades when I switched, and I shouldn't have. It seems like guys, it's funny, guys who are like physically stronger and they're, try to, sometimes we pretend we're buff or what. I got a tennis elbow from who knows what, like middle age. Doctor said it's people that play tennis and women who are in the middle ages that get it. So take what you will from that. But we physically have stronger bodies, even if we look weak. And some of us try to act stronger than we are. But gee whiz. It's like all of us guys, we jumped on the bandwagon to get the mirrorless because we want something light and compact. So we always have a camera with us. And most of the girl photographers that I know, that are pros at least, are still using their DSLRs. And why do I say still? It's probably a stupid idea to say still, but they're using their DSLRs with no problem, and maybe someday they will switch to mirrorless. But meanwhile, the guys who's like 2 or 3 times stronger, like per muscle mass, we're getting the smallest cameras we can and complaining about tennis elbow. And not just me. A lot of you guys are like, I can't carry it all day, my arthritis. It's like, come on. My grandma has a DSLR. All right, take it away, Chelsea.
I've taken a lot of mediocre pictures, but I'm having a blast doing it. Fuji makes some of the most fun cameras to shoot with, and I know that I can be the worst offender when it comes to pixel peeping, but I also admit that if you're not having fun taking your...
Nope. I get 40 images to 120 images on the XT3 in a magazine shoot. That's pixel peeping. All right.
Pictures, you might not take pictures, and then there will be no pixels to be peeped. That was fun. I feel like street photography is really where this camera excels. We're going to go to a park now. I'm going to take some...
All right. Why is that? Everyone talks about Fujifilm for street photography. You can't necessarily, unless you turn off the command dial that I showed you, unless you turn that off, you can't tell all the settings just from looking at it. That's a massive lens. Everyone talks about Fujifilm. You gotta have like a tiny camera in order to have like to do proper street photography. Nope. That's a massive. And the XT4 is a little bit big. Personally, I think it should be bigger. Like it's fine maybe for a woman size hand, but like even a metrosexual male hand should be larger for that. And that lens, of course, is a massive lens. She's got the hood on. How is that? Why is it? Okay, if you're going to talk about a camera being good for street photography, at least, and this is not a criticism just aimed at Chelsea, mention why it's good for it. Is it good for the focus? Is it good? You mentioned the black and white simulations, but if all cameras do that, why is a Fujifilm better? Is it a size thing? Come on, let's be specific.
Some portraits of Tony. So come on.
Tony. Let me use the camera some too.
No.
We drove to Harkness State Park, maybe the best spot for outdoor portraits in all
beautiful
of
place.
England.
What other lenses do we have?
Car shot.
40 to 30.
You guys saw that. It's car shot. Nice car shot. coming in. Vroom, this is what I ride.
5, the 16 to 55, and the 10 to 24 f4.
Is that
See that? If you look at the aperture ring, that's what I'm talking about. The aperture ring is actually unlabeled. Hey, let's see if we can just rewind this slightly.
f4.
See that? Okay, so there's no labels on it. That thing rotates either left or right, and you can set up in the camera firmware which way you want it to go. All right, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just to show you that not all of them are labeled, and some lenses don't have aperture rings. Even though that's a constant f4. I don't know why they did that. It's very strange. This sort of disuniformity. This is one of the things I sort of dislike about the XT or the Fujifilm series in general. Okay, before I forget, I'm going to get on a tangent here. Okay, remember like a couple of months ago, people were complaining about the, even maybe a month ago, like the Viltrix lenses. If you got those Viltrix lenses, they'll put on the X Pro 3 and it'll hit the lens release button. Here, check it out. So the idea was basically that you put it on, it'll hit this release button. Now that release button, if you notice, sticks up. Even on the X-T3, it sticks up and it's actually further extruded, I guess, or it sticks out of the body further than the lens mount does. This is the only camera series I know that does this. Every other one has it at least, at worst, flush with the mount. Even the GFX. See if I can find it. It's just right over there. The GFX doesn't do that, or doesn't have the same design. Just a moment. I'll grab the GFX. Don't look down. I'm going to stand up here. Don't look down, man. Don't look. When someone in COVID time or quarantine time, man, don't look down. When a person's, you never know if they got pants on. Or even if they got pants on. Like, they might even have pants on. Just don't look down. All right. So, this is good. Here's the GFX. I'm not sure if you can see that. But there's the lens release. It is, as you can tell, it does not stick out as far or as up out of the body as the lens mount. So even if you had a massive lens that came out of here, it would never hit this button. But with the X Pro 3, for some reason, in fact, the entire, where's the red thing? There it is. There's the red thing. Got this on a Steels ring adapter, by the way. It's awesome. All right, that was loud. Sorry about that. Put it down there. Tennis elbow. All right. For some reason, the X-T3 is the same way. The release button sticks out, and it's very, very close to the mount. This is a real design problem, because if you have, even Fujifilm's own designs come very close. Like, for instance, and I've showed this before on another stream, and you guys probably bored of this by now, but this is their own camera here. See this way? I don't have thick fingers, but if you can tell, in order for me to touch that button, my fingernail is actually touching the lens. It's not the fattest lens. There are fatter lenses. And when I press down, there is 1 millimeter or 1/2 millimeter of clearance. The X-T3 brings that button, or the base of it, closer to the mount, and so it would even be harder to put in. This does not have to be the case. This whole manifold here is bumping out of the body. That could be inside the body closer, and you could have it down there and be easy to do with or without gloves, with or without a third-party body. This is a Fujifilm design mistake that they didn't replicate on the GFX. It is not a Viltrix problem. Viltrix, yes, the mount is wider than it should be, but that should not affect how it mounts onto a camera, because no camera that's well-designed has the button sticking out farther than the mount. That is redonkulous, man. All right, that was a tangent. Let's go back to the video.
Is that new?
Sort of. I got it from KEH used, and it didn't really cost anything because I sold KEH a bunch of my old gear and then bought this used at a great price with a great return policy and a great guarantee in case anything did go wrong with it. But it is like new. So really, I got new gear and it didn't cost me anything, thanks to our sponsor KEH. If you're interested in them, check out the link here and use the coupon code TNC20 to get 5% off. Thanks, KEH.
Okay, I managed to find a quiet little corner of the park, and I'm going to try out taking some portraits of Tony.
By the way, we just got a comment from Kusanagi Kyo. I don't know if that's your real name. By the way, there's a really good electronic band. I guess you would call them sort of industrial post-space band called Kusanagi. I think they're from Toronto, Canada. Great stuff. They do some really dark, not fast because it's spacey. I don't know what you call it. Anyway, so okay. The quarantine thing destroyed my event business. The Leicas I used for events strictly. It's been, how long has it been since my event business basically died from February. Once there were like rumors of this, just gone. So this year I've got no events, and my Leicas were my event cameras. So the only Leica camera I sold them. I sold them. I'm just doing still life right now and some family stuff. So sorry about that. I cannot do a direct comparison between an M10 and a Fujifilm. The other problem is I will be getting rid of the X-T3 probably as soon as the R6 jumps down in price, or I may get rid of it sooner than that and just be using a Canon 5D Mark II. There's a whole bunch of reasons. I've enjoyed using Fujifilm for a long time, and I've been using them since 2013. However, I think I've had enough of sort of struggling with design problems is basically what I say. Anyway, I really wish I could follow up on that, but I can't unless you're happy with me doing it with a Leica M2, in which case, yeah, I'll do that before I sell the X-T3. All right, let's go.
Tony with the Fuji 56mm f1.2 lens. Okay, Tony, you're my cameraman and my model today. You're working double duty.
Okay, I'll put this down.
Sexy Tony.
I think that's good. Come on, Tony. I also like the flippy screen because I'm pretty short and all of my models are always taller than me. And so sometimes I hold my camera over my head when I don't have an Apple box to stand on. And that's humiliating anyway, to be honest.
Okay, have you guys noticed? And I think it's actually pretty cool what mirrorless has allowed us to do is take the camera away from the eye and just sort of shoot it from like, almost like you're using, I don't know, like a gun or a smartphone. Just hold it out like that. I think that's actually pretty cool. I know that maybe purists would be like, that's not how you should hold a camera. It's not going to be as stable, but with stabilization and with some of these really soft touch shutter releases, there's no problem with that. I think I gotta say, I like it. And I like that people are a little bit more creative with how they hold the cameras now. So nice, Chelsea, for using it like a mirrorless. I like that.
The color and bokeh looked great, but Tony's white shirt tricked the Fuji into underexposing his face. Other modern mirrorless cameras do a better job of auto-exposing portraits.
Okay, Tony just...
Okay, question here. Is that because you're not used to the metering system, or is that because that camera consistently just underexposed it in those sort of scenes? All cameras have their weaknesses for that. I don't know. I would probably err on the side of user error here, but I don't know. Okay, come on, Chelsea. Let's show some good stuff.
Stole the camera from me, so I guess I'll let him take a few pictures of me and see what he thinks of it.
She's liking this for sure. I'm the model now, and she is definitely the prettier one. So I think we're gonna get some glamour shots.
The eye detect auto.
By the way, Tony, look at him. He's using it like a DSLR. He's like, I'm gonna hold this like it's a big camera.
Autofocus system frequently focused on the nose or forehead. I think the AF points just aren't precise enough. Shooting headshots at f1.2, this was obvious, but you probably wouldn't notice it at f2.8 or above.
Okay, if you're a DSLR shooter, the ability to automatically focus on the eye anywhere in the frame is fantastic, especially for shooting portraits. But if you're already a mirrorless shooter, the X-T4, actually, the autofocus system doesn't seem to keep up with Sony's. And I'm kind of...
Or if you're using something like a Canon, what's that one? 5D Mark IV, I guess, DSLR from 4 years ago. Doesn't do eye focus, but it does face focus. You turn it into live view, and it works just like a DSLR, or sorry, mirrorless. And I found the focus was just as good or better, in fact, more accurate. Of course, it's got an alias filter, so it's going to soften it a bit, but whatever.
I'm cringing as I say this because I know people get really mad.
It's fine. Just say it.
It doesn't autofocus that well.
It was missing autofocus all over the place.
Oh my gosh, did he just say that? Did he just say that the XT4 doesn't autofocus that well? Because I remember when the XT3 came out, all us Fuji guys were like, it focuses as good as the, not all of us, but the guys that reviewed it back then are like, the XT3 focuses as good as the A7 III. And some of them were like, it's up there with the A9. And now this guy's saying that the follow-up to that isn't as good as a Sony? Come on, Tony. You can't be right about that. Or Fujifilm reviewers might be wrong, and they might be just showing their brand loyalty, making sure their biases are a little bit closer to home. All right, let's go.
And when I'm focusing, the aperture pulses in and out. I can see it shutting.
That's the most annoying thing about Fujifilm. Gee whiz. Outside, you got your, and they do this in order to not, I don't know, gain up the sensor or whatever, but the aperture is the one that controls the light rather than the sensor like sending it more or less electricity. So if you get into a dark area, it opens the aperture. Even though if you have the aperture set to f2.8, it won't keep it there whilst you're framing and focusing. It's redonkulous. And then when you're in a dark area, when you're in a light area, it'll close it back down. So suddenly you've got depth of focus from your table all the way to the grass out there where it should just be on the flower. They do this. There's a bad design. They need to fix this. And they don't have to do it that way, because if you set it to manual exposure, it doesn't do that. It only does that when you have it on aperture priority and perhaps maybe on program auto. It's a bad design. Don't need to do this. Tony, thank you for mentioning this. It is annoying. If you were a Fujifilm guy or like a real Fujifilm guy, you wouldn't be mentioning that. You'd be like, people don't even mention aperture chatter anymore, and they should. It's the most ridiculous. It's one of the worst design bits from Fujifilm, and makes me. It's one of the reasons I'm going to change. I'm sick of that. All right, let's go.
Down, but it means the bokeh in the background is getting big and getting small, and maybe it's something to do with this particular lens, the 56mm f1.2, but it's the only 85 equivalent that they have, so you don't really have any other choices. In fact, I wish it were a little faster because it's equivalent to an 85 f1.8 on a full frame camera. And full frame cameras in Canon, you can go up to 85 f1.2, so your options are a little limited. Hoping the XT4 would.
He said that the options are limited. Doesn't he know about micro four thirds? As a camera conspiracy says it, you set that thing to like f1.2, and it's like this equivalent of like f56 or something like that. I don't know if that's true, and I haven't actually done the maths, but it is. You listen, if you like your bokeh to be like really blurry, APS-C definitely is a little bit behind. However, some of those Fujifilm lenses really render well. That zoom, by the way, does not. It's pretty harsh bokeh. Of course, he's using the 56, so all right, that's moot. Hey, press the button. There we are.
Would do better in a studio environment. Me headed home.
So I have.
You see that home? Gotta put that home. I could park my home in their garage. Of course, I'm living in Japan, so we live. By the way, we live in a house that's slightly larger than average. Not because we got money. We live out kind of in the burbs. Slightly larger than average. It's what is it? 118 meters squared, which I think is like in American, it's like 100. It's like 1,300 square feet. I think something like that. Which I think in modern American language would be tiny. Because if you go to a modern house, maybe one of the reasons why they sell houses for so much is they're like double the size, and then they got basements, so like triple the size. But that house, man, that's what you got to do, man. You got to. Tony was like the sex. By the way, if you don't know this, sexiest nerd alive in 2000, the year 2000. This is a true story. So he published books back then about Windows XP or 7 or something like that. He's got a lot of respect for Tony. He's where he is because he's a go-getter. Done good. Definitely not a Fujifilm user, but that's all right.
Tony here modeling for me. Of course, I have the XT4. I have the whole thing tethered here, and I'm using Capture One. And then I'm also.
That's gonna get this video demonetized, man. She's swearing, and now. Okay, come on. My stream's gonna be demonetized. That's a second one in a week. Thanks. Wait, she beeped that? If she beeped it, maybe it'll be okay. But they'll still be able to. All right, if you got kids, just pull them away from this section.
I'm also using these gelled Godox strobes, a beauty dish, and another gelled strobe right up here.
We don't need a booty disc for you, Tony. You were the sexiest nerd alive. You still are. Among the camera guys, one of the, and I say this, no homo, one of the sexier, better looking, that is, I don't want to say it.
And my studio is a real mess. Oh, one more thing, the thing I just almost killed myself on. This piece of glass that I sprayed with water.
In the studio with our gorgeous gravity backdrop, we didn't need to worry.
It's Admiral Holdo. Wow. But she's not in an evening gown commanding a starship. She's wearing a t-shirt. Admiral Holdo. Ha! Awesome.
About blurring the background. Shutting the aperture down to f8, the IAF worked better, or at least it wasn't as obvious when it missed focus. But you can see the IAF frequently loses track of the face and reverts back to focusing at the selected AF point. It's just not as good as Canon or Sony, but Fuji has a habit of fixing our criticisms with firmware updates, so subscribe to see that future review.
I usually shoot with a 42 or 60 megapixel camera, but the XT4's 26 megapixels were good enough and actually made tethering and post-processing quicker. I love quicker.
Why is she so sad? Why is she so sad? You don't got to be so sad, yo. By the way, that 26 megapixels is perfectly fine. I got no problem.
Raw files handled the color from my gelled strobes just fine, and I had plenty of dynamic range to raise the shadows to show details on the dark clothing.
You know what, I love you guys? I just finished the world's most boring test, which is the image stabilization test. I took like 400 pictures at different shutter speeds with both the XT3 and the XT4 that I'm recording this video on to see how much the sensor stabilization improved the performance. With the unstabilized lenses, I got about 2 stops better performance than I did on the unstabilized XT3. With the stabilized lenses, the 50 to 140 that I used, I did not see a noticeable improvement. So if you were getting the...
Oh, you see that? He's kind of actually rotating the that little graph. That definitely comes from the world's formerly most sexy nerd.
XT4 specifically for sort of hybrid stabilization when using your existing stabilized lenses. I just saved you a bunch of money. You don't have to buy it. Your XT3 is going to give you the same performance. If you're like me...
I'll mention this, by the way. If you notice, he's using the XT3 right now to film this, is what he said. And you can notice it's going out of focus a whole bunch. Probably, I assume, at least, that he has it on face detect autofocus. Even so, there's no way to just make sure it only goes to the face. It's got a central like selection thing. It's video focus for Fujifilm is needs some work.
And you love those fast, unstabilized Fuji primes, the XT4 is a huge upgrade because it basically eliminates any sort of camera shake at 2 or 3 stops below the reciprocal roll.
2 or 3 stops below the reciprocal roll. Wow!
The XT4 has the greatest video capabilities of any Fuji camera. First of all, it's the first one with a flip forward screen that allows a YouTuber like myself to be able to film myself. It's also useful when you have a cameraman because they can flip the screen forward and let the on-camera talent see what the composition is. So for example, you know how high you can move your fingers and not have them go off the screen and do things like this. It also records 4K at 60 frames a second to 2 card slots. It has a micro HDMI out.
Also, if you will notice, those card slots are no longer cascaded like they are here. So fumbling in the dark or even in the light, like I want to get the rear one, you got to like reach across that one. Oh, I did it. And then kind of pull out. Ooh. And then get that one. No, they're right. Hard to get into. There's just right here and right here. Pump, pump. So much better. Fujifilm, thank you very much for listening to that. That is awesome. You guys are actually improving things. Kaizen in the firmware is okay. Kaizen in the hardware is way more important.
Out with some power. You can record it with the information display to the HDMI out, or of course, you can do clean HDMI out, just like most cameras can.
but this one will output full HD to the HDMI and record 4K internally, or vice versa. So if you wanted to basically record a proxy file, you would be able to do that. That's amazing. There are some problems with it though. So I'm going to use my smartphone to grab some B-roll and show you what I have going on here. First of all,
it showed off a smartphone too. That's like the high-end triple lens iPhone 11 Pro. Damn, it's got a BMW and a pool and an iPhone 11 Pro. You're doing good, man.
Well, the HDMI cable is in front of the screen, as is the mic jack. So when you have something plugged in, your view is partially obscured. Why don't they put the SD cards on the screen side of the camera and the jacks on the grip side of the camera? Because you don't need to access the SD card.
To be fair, basically every camera, maybe not the S1H, that does that or that has that flippy screen, basically has the same output array. Got no idea why they do it. I found that a little bit annoying with the 80D, not because I was using that thing, but because I was using like the microphone ports. It is annoying. No idea why in the current year, as Mr. Trudeau says, in the current year, it's still got that design, and that design's been going since forever, at least in digital terms.
Cards while you're recording. Another nice feature you can see here is the option for a tally light on both the front and the back.
That's so cool. I love that.
Recording.
I use it on the XT3 all the time.
Became a real video camera. Wait, I did this full review of the XT4's video capabilities with all these different lenses and every different combination of settings, and then Fuji released version 1.02 of their firmware. I have IAF off.
All right. Here is an indication that these guys have been using the camera for a little bit longer than just the length of time it takes to react to a camera being debuted on the market. Good on you, Tony, for bringing that out, updating this review, and at least using it longer than, well, these reviewers, they basically review the camera that just came out with the like past beta firmware and all that. I like that about you. Thank you very much.
Often I have the tracking sensitivity to 4, which is the lowest sensitivity. And then I'll have to go back and review the footage. Wait, Tony, number 2, I'm going full Inception to test the XT4 in a variety of different scenarios, different lighting, different backgrounds to see how it's able to track things. I think it might be better with the firmware update. It worked okay in some types of lighting with some lenses, but every lens I tested still occasionally hunted and randomly ruined my shot. If you use it as a vlog.
Video focus for Fujifilm is still a disaster. That's what I'm getting. Doesn't seem any better than XT3. Maybe it is 1% better. That's not good enough, man. If the 80D from 80D was 2017, I think, if that camera was so much better than the XT3 and still looks like it performs better than the XT4, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Vlogging camera, it will betray you at some point, and viewers hate autofocus video. See that memory card? It failed, and that shouldn't have been a problem because I was recording video to 2 cards, but instead of continuing to record to the second card, the XT4 stopped recording with a vague error that didn't even indicate which of the 2 cards had failed. Fuji, please give us a firmware update that continues recording.
Not only that, but their cards, after you're done recording, you put it in your computer, the card doesn't even say they were shot with a Fujifilm, doesn't say it was shot with a Fujifilm X-T4, doesn't label which card it is, it's just untitled. That's redonkulous. Their GFX is like that, their X Pro 3 is like that, their X100V is like that. That can be fixed in firmware. It shouldn't be there still 10 years later. Fujifilm, get on the ball, label your SD cards when they're formatted in your camera. The Leica does it. The Leica's done it for probably about a decade. And they're like super behind the times when it comes to technology. All right, come on.
Recording in the event of an error and tells us which of the cards failed. Without that, having 2 card slots is basically useless. The XT4 is also better suited to manual exposure than auto exposure. Right now you can see it's basically overexposing my face, probably because I'm against a dark background. But other cameras identify my face and base the exposure properly on that. And I found that auto exposure tends to jump. I bet if I step back a little bit and watch it adjust my face, you can see as that exposure ticks up instead of just gradually blending down. I don't have any other cameras that do that. The test I'm doing right now is the overheating test. I saw on Fuji rumors.
All right. Yep. Fujifilm basically, whether it's aperture, like whether you're going outside from a dark place to a light place, it goes, the exposure does. It doesn't gradually change. Same with the aperture. I don't know. I like using the cameras. Don't complain, man. You're going to switch brands. You're such a shill for everyone. For who knows? All right, go on, man.
.com that somebody tested the XT4 and it overheated in like 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And I consider that to be completely unacceptable. It was unacceptable when the Sonys were overheating that fast.
Completely unacceptable. You will be assimilated. 8 minutes, you will be assimilated.
And it's unacceptable when the XT4 was overheating. I did 3 tests, 2 outdoors and 1 in.
By the way, is that worse than the Canon one? Everyone's complaining about the Canon, but I don't see anyone complaining about the XT4. What is this, man? Even XT4 Tony here, he was complaining about it. But the Canon, it looks like it might go even 20 minutes, 30 minutes oversampled 4K. Come on.
Indoors. The XT4 overheated in all the tests, lasting 13 to 16 minutes in full sun and 21 minutes indoors. This means I can't trust it for recording concerts, sporting events, weddings, or longer vlogs. Disappointing, but our XT3 lasted longer, so pick up a used copy from KEH for those types.
That's wrong. XT3 does not last longer than that. I'll tell you why. The XT3's battery, well, okay, fine. It might last longer than that, but okay, you're going to get a maximum of 29 whatever minutes of recording. And that's all you're going to get from a battery. I think people have pushed it to 40 minutes from the XT3, doing it like a 4K or even a 1080p. But I don't get any longer than that when I do some sort of video. Now, I'm not a video pro. I don't do like crazy cool stuff. I just do stand in front of it, having it do face focus, and then moving something in front of it so it captures that thing. That simple little thing, that it cannot do longer than 40 minutes on a single battery. So that's not true, man. Even if the XT4 overheats faster than XT3, you're not going to get any difference in terms of actual output. Well, okay, 20 minutes versus 30 minutes. But I mean, nah, forget it, man. XT3's battery is rubbish.
Of shoots. Let's wrap this up. First, a reminder, we are not sponsored by any camera or lens manufacturer. We do this so that we could remain unbiased and tell you all the positives and negatives about every camera. Chelsea, who should buy the Fujifilm X-T4?
Well, it's a tactile and fun experience to take photos with this camera. So I would say anyone that wants to engage.
All right. I'm not even listening to this fully, but I'll say this. They haven't really... What they've basically tested is how this camera works for very light portrait shooting, possibly with... It looks like they're using strobes, like Godox or whatever. Godot. I always wonder. I've been waiting for someone to tell me how it's pronounced. Like everyone goes Godox. I always thought it was Godot. So I've been waiting for someone to tell me that Godot's wrong. Pun. Whatever. But we got a comment here from, what is his name? Kusanagi. He's like, for better video, get a Canon. Yes. But the output for the X-T3 and X-T4 are phenomenal. I mean, you're probably only going to get better output from a Canon if you're using the blistering latest stuff like the 1DX Mark III, as well as possibly the R6 and the R5. The 4K and even the 1080p, you go to deep review, do all that like comparison stuff, nothing. And I haven't tried all 100 cameras I have on their list, but I've tried about 20 of them. Nothing touches the Fujifilm, not even the Panasonic, those little GH series ones, which everyone uses for video. They don't touch the output of the X-T3 and the X-T4. So, yeah, I mean, but basically when it comes to focus quality, as well as transitions from dark to light and basic reliability, battery life, the Canons are run all over Fujifilm just completely. Also, yes, the XH2 probably will be very good. As you guys know, maybe you know, I'm not sure. I have, I think, a good article about it on Omimage. That was my Wacom. I got a good article, I think, on Omimage about the things that need to change hardware-wise about the design. I don't care about the firmware or anything like that. That need to change to make it a great camera, or at least better than the XH1. Let me see if I can find that just quickly. I don't want to leave. Let's see. Home Image XH2. Let's see if we can do this. 10 things. If you guys want, read this. Be great to hear you. What you think about that? I did a video on this channel as well. It's basically the same content. Me reading off the video, in fact. But yeah, I don't know. Canon are better for sure, but output quality is absolutely all goes to Fujifilm.
With their camera while they're taking photos, maybe someone into street photography or travel photography, I would recommend.
One down.
I think of it like a sports car with a stick shift. You know,
Yeah.
You're in there, you're having fun, but would you?
We could say a lot about that. I've used this analogy before as well. A stick shift on a sport car. My car is like a loaf of bread that goes down the street that can carry a maximum of 350 kilograms. It's got a stick shift. First gear lasts about from 0 to like 10 kilometers an hour, and by then the car, pardon me here, the car is like this. Whee! The engine, by the way, is under my seat. All right, but that is to say, if you use a stick shift or even an automatic where you can change the gears, you're actually selecting the gear, and the camera is not going to do something weird. So once you got the car in gear, you can either break the engine by not changing it and just overheat it, or you can let the car select it automatically, I guess, if you have an automatic drive or automatic transmission or whatever. But the XT4 has, as I said, a manual fascia. But in reality, it works just like a PASM camera. So I think it's a mistake to say that it's like using a manual camera or a car. That's a poor analogy.
Pick that if you needed to bring mulch back from Home Depot or you needed to take 4 kids to the soccer game.
I think you're making a good point, and that's what makes these camera reviews difficult. They're all a tool. What would you use them for? And this is the camera that I take with me when we're doing a day trip somewhere, or if I might be taking photos or doing street.
Is it though? It looks like you were kind of pretty new to that camera, so I don't know if you take it with you or if you took it with you. It's kind of a tense problem here, and I think there's a little bit of speculation behind this, but I think you're not a Fuji user, and that's okay. I'm about not to be, but I remember.
Photography, and I just want to sling it over my shoulder. It's fun.
Just a moment. Pardon me, my daughter's just come in, wants to change her name. Can you, I'll come back, okay? They're gonna see you online. Because I'm online right now. You know what? I may cut this short, guys. I may cut this short. Lady, can you just go out there for just a second? I'm just gonna. All right, guys. Looks like it's bedtime. We'll have to finish this another time. So thank you very much. I don't know what's gonna happen last part of this video, but I'll just say this. Probably Chelsea's not a big Fujifilm user, and what's his name? Tone is probably not a huge Fujifilm user as well. Can you shut the door for a second, maybe? Oh shoot! All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We got a little bit of ending exclamation here from my daughter. Thank you. And this is how it goes. Let's see if we got any questions here. Everyone else is pretty awful, especially Canon. What's this for? Battery life wise? Battery life? No, the Canon's way better than the Fujifilm. At least double. Keep in mind that Canon's battery. Let's see here. Keep in mind the battery life is about the same size as A7R4. Yeah. Wait, what? It does that on paper, but it easily gets when I borrowed the R, it got real good. By the way, I gotta get out of here. Sorry about this. 5 DSLR 7 battery, and we get 200 images using live. Yeah, using live view, but of course the camera's not designed around that, so I think that's a little bit unfair. The mirrorless are going to be better. Your daughter first. Yeah, peace. See you guys. All right, bye guys.